Hi everyone, I'm going to be talking about the American healthcare system from the perspective of someone who lives in Australia. I've been following the healthcare system in America for a while now, and without a doubt, it's an absolute embarrassment and disgrace to the rest of the world. It's absolutely crazy, and I'm going to go into detail in this clip why. Living in Australia, like everyone here is guaranteed universal health care. The public system here is actually called Medicare, and everyone receives that basic coverage. It's automatic, and so that means if you something happens, and you have to go to hospital, like you get a something, you just have to go to hospital. You're not racked up with all these bills, like you're not left in debt, because I've heard so many stories out of America where, someone goes to hospital and they have all this debt, tens of thousands of debt, more sometimes. It's just an absolute joke. The fact that someone can just be living their day-to-day life and, something happens, out the blue, they break a bone or something and then they go to hospital, racked up all this debt. It's just ludicrous. And, I'm not a fan of Michael Moore. Not a huge fan, but his film Sicko really nailed it. And, I've been aware of all this crap going on in America since then. And yeah, it's absolute joke, and I've watched recent videos about how a lot of Americans are traveling north of the border and even south of the border to Mexico just to get cheaper medication. That's another thing, American medications are the most expensive in the world by far. Like more than Switzerland, more than Canada, because Canada's the third most expensive, which I was shocked to find out recently. But that's how bad things are in America with the health system, that people are traveling north of the border and south of the border even. And there's even a town like in Mexico just across the border where, like a lot of Americans travel there for dental care, because apparently it's cheaper, more effective, less waiting times, I assume. And, it's like a thriving economy there, like some town. And America's supposedly the world's, it is the world's wealthiest country, and yet there's millions there don't even have insurance and, racked up with all this debt just because something, they happen to break a bone or something. It's absolutely crazy. And this goes into the whole ideology as well. There's this strange right-wing ideological mentality I've noticed, like in America a lot. I haven't seen it from people in other countries hardly at all. Like you do see some of it, but it's very limited. Where there's this mentality, like this survival of the fittest, like every man for himself mentality where, you don't have healthcare, you can't afford it, tough shit, And just that mentality itself just boggles my mind, because the rest of the industrialized world has universal coverage and yet America doesn't. And a lot of it is because of people with that mentality, especially on the right wing, where, like, you can't afford it, well, fuck you, like, to me, it's just a very selfish, just a horrible mentality, and it just boggles my mind. I don't understand it. Like, even in Australia, like, like, there's a lot of people say, those people on the dole, they're just splurging off, like, dole bludgers, they're just, don't want to work, and, but, even people who say things like that here, that I hear none of them say, oh, look, they're too poor to pay their medical bills, fuck them, I don't hear any of that here, like, even, like, everyone seems to have the opinion that, everyone has a right to, healthcare, if you break a bone, you're not in debt, tens of thousands of dollars, like people don't even have a second thought, like even on the very right wing here, and seems to be the same in the rest of the industrialized world. And that's why I don't understand why America's so far behind, and backwards in this mentality. It doesn't make sense. And I'm not some, massive liberal either. Like, I guess on economic issues, I'm a bit more left wing, but like there's a lot of in terms of the left wing, I don't like their identity politics and their social justice warrior stuff and feminism either. So, like, I don't like any of that. But, they really do nail it on the whole healthcare thing and, a lot of the economic stuff, like Bernie Sanders especially. Like, he nails it on healthcare and, and this is the problem I have with the right wing and all these conservatives and, pundits on Fox News. Like, they always say, I can't afford it, like, it will crush competition, blah, 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 blah. But all of them are coming from a place of ideology rather than facts. Like I've often heard people that, promote universal healthcare and in the debates like that. And, they'll bring up facts. But then on the opposite side, the Stephen Crowder types, the Ben Shapiro types, the Fox News types, they just don't have anything of substance or facts. They haven't taken the time to investigate. It's like they just choose to ignore the healthcare topic. It's like they're all focusing on other issues like the border and stuff, and whatever, other issues. But yeah, with healthcare, they just choose to stay ignorant about it. It's like they don't care. Oh, people who are poor, stuff them. And yeah. To me, it's just an extremely selfish mentality, the Stephen Crowder, Ben Shapiro types. And, yeah, it's purely disgusting and, yeah, unacceptable, in an industrialized country like America. And, yeah, it's a complete joke. All the horse shit I've heard from people attacking the idea of universal health. Oh, there's 330 million, how are we going to afford it, blah, 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 blah. But, like things like that can be run on a state level, like you can have federal oversight of it, but then the states can run their own universal health care and that, like there's different ways around it. But it's like these right-wingers don't even want to debate it. Like they don't want to discuss it. Like they just want to sweep it under the rug. They want to ignore it. And it's like they're doing it on purpose. And yeah, I just don't get it. It's pathetic in my opinion. And yeah, completely unacceptable. And yeah. And like there's like last time I heard there's about at least 30 million that don't have insurance, and that's a disgrace. Like that's crazy in America. And it's just horrific. And yeah, I don't get it. Like it works, all universal healthcare works in all these other countries, and then there's the fact that it's even a debate in America, like that's the problem right there. Like why is it's not something to debate, and then everyone says, oh, how are we going to afford it? But look at all this money that's been allocated towards the military, like America spends more on its military than all other countries combined, so they can actually, I'm pretty sure it's all countries, a lot of countries anyway, like the military budget's huge. And so, at least, even if some of that money was allocated towards universal healthcare, like, it could afford it, it's a joke. It's ridiculous. Like, there's no excuses for it. And, yeah, and people that want universal healthcare in America, they need to understand that the right wingers just keep pushing ideologue after ideologue. They're not based in facts. And that's how they can defeat them in debates, on this issue. Like you're not focusing on the facts. You're not focusing on the studies in other countries, how it works a lot better. You're not talking about how Americans are traveling north and south of the border. You're just, focusing on your ideology of, every man for himself, Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged utopia, they're not bound in facts, they're just spewing ideology. And right now I'm going to talk about the healthcare system in Australia. As an Aussie, I can say that the healthcare system here is pretty great. Like, it actually is one of the best in the world. There are faults with it, and I'm not going to lie. Like, some of the waiting lists, some of the waiting times can be long, but, in places like America, they're long as well. So, the whole Stephen Crowder argument about, universal healthcare means longer waiting times because of Canada, blah, blah, blah. It's just false. Like, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He's just a right-wing ideologue. But anyway, basically everyone here is covered by Medicare, but private insurance does exist here. There's actually a thriving market here of private health insurance. There's competition, like there's all these competing companies. Like, I'm not saying, to be honest, I don't like insurance companies. I reckon they do their best to try to get themselves out of paying out. There's a lot of exclusions. Like, I recently looked at the private health coverage of in Australia, like on their site, because unlike America, where your insurance is tied to your employer, which is a load of horse shit. So if you lose your job, you lose insurance. That's a joke. In Australia, somewhere that hasn't, normal, system, you can just buy private insurance online, like you look it up, you click here and then you pay it, online. And then it gives a list of, what it covers, what it doesn't cover, blah, blah, blah. It's so easy. And, but, there's a lot of exclusions, though, I've noticed, like, at least with the cheaper plans. And the cheapest private insurance plans I've seen are about $70, about $35 a week. So, I'm trying to think, $70 a month Australian. But there were all these exclusions, and even with the more expensive plans, there were exclusions as well. It didn't cover all this, but the thing is, with those private insurance, that's to have coverage if you go to private hospitals. Like, you can choose what hospital to go, blah blah blah. That's what it covers. But even if you don't have private insurance, you're still covered by Medicare, which means any public hospital. And, so if you need the care, you get it, like it's not some bullshit system. Oh, you don't have insurance, you're fucked, fuck you. And, like, if you earn under a certain amount, if your income is below a certain amount, you can go to GPs for free. And also the pharmaceutical prices are very low here. They're massively subsidised. And I don't hear many people complaining about the system. Oh, look at those leeches, like they're getting subsidised medicine. They're leeching. I never hear any of that, People here have a basic understanding, they would need healthcare, fine, that people here have the mentality that healthcare is a human right, which it is, and they just don't have a sweat over it. It's just who cares, and that's why it boggles my mind why in America there's such ideologies, like, oh, you must pay everything yourself, and tough shit if you can't afford it, and it's just boggled my mind, like ever since I saw Sicko. It's just boggled my mind, the whole system there, how much of a joke it is, and there needs to be massive reform. And I'm a very free market kind of guy, like I don't know like what amount of areas, but in a lot of areas in life, the free market is the best way, like free market, competition, innovation. It works in a lot of sectors, like it helps keep prices down. You know, like there's innovation, there's better products, blah, blah, blah. And that's great. But there's certain industries that I feel that the free market doesn't have a place in, and that's healthcare and medicine. Because when you're talking about people's lives, people's health, you're still going to have those market forces trying to sell things as high a price as possible that they can. And to me, like when you have people's lives at stake, you know, like yeah, their lives, their health at stake, there's just no room for that. You know, it's just incomprehensible that you know money has a higher precedent than people's health and even whether you know their lives. And that's why America's healthcare system's a complete joke. You know, like yeah, it needs to be massively reformed. Bernie Sanders has the right idea, I reckon, on healthcare. He's nailed it. Yeah, yep. I might do another video on this. Run out of things to say for now. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my other content as well. I've posted a lot of other interesting videos. So yeah, be sure to check that out. There'll be more videos coming soon.